I think it's time we talk about Squid Game. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to S.M.E Talks. Thank you for your likes, for your interaction with my content. Please support the channel by liking, commenting, and enabling the bell. My channel is new and all your help and support is much appreciated. So, I binge watched the Squid Game. I watched it all in a couple of days. I thought it was one of the most disgusting, gruesome series that you can watch, very graphic, but it is addictive. So probably there will be spoilers in this video, right? But the fact that this series became Netflix's biggest ever series and the biggest ever show in a 2 weeks period, that says a lot, to be honest with you. Economy perspective, but also from my take on the series itself. And then it made me think a lot about me personally, about myself, and if I'm ever in that kind of a situation. So the show basically it looks into people who their life is completely screwed up, right? People who are in bad debt. There are people running after them. Their life is in danger, and they have no money. The main character of the show, he's a gambler. He gambles whatever he earns, hoping to get out of his misery. He's a single dad. He needs to support his daughter, and he also needs to support his ill mother. That's one of the main characters of the show, but the rest of the characters who building up the theme of the show are like similar, even though their personalities are different. You get people who are an accountant, I believe, someone who is extremely smart. You get women who like a young woman who used to pickpocket and steal things. There is a guy who's a refugee from Pakistan who was there with his young born son and his wife, and he needed to make something for himself, and his boss doesn't pay his wages, so he's really in a bad shape, and so on and so on and so on. The bit that made me think, do I have a price as well? Do we all have a price? If you think about it, when the show starts, before they invite them to the game, there is this kind of devilish salesperson who walks into these selected characters to be chosen to participate in this game. He walks into him around like a subway station or underground, and he offers him a game. He says, look, I have a blue card and I have a red card. And I think it's a game probably they do in South Korea. They hit the cards, and if it flips, the person who manages to flip it wins. And he tells him, you have to pay me nothing. If you win, I'll pay you, I think, 100,000 of that country's currency. And if I win, I'll slap you. Right? And they started with this guy, and he accepted, and he kept losing, and the guy kept slapping him. And the guy accepted it, basically, so he can get the 100,000, the 100,000. If someone comes to you and they offer you 100,000, a million, 10,000, whatever money that you consider big, are you willing to let someone to bitch slap you like that for that kind of money? I don't know. It's interesting. If someone is in a bad need, I think they can cash on their integrity, especially for people who were in that kind of situation. It made me think a lot. And I've seen some cases in my life, in different social settings, and I've seen it manifest in itself, and how much people are willing to sacrifice for wealth and money. So some people, give up things quite easily, and some people probably not. But do we all have a price at the end of the day? Are we willing to risk our integrity or just give it away to get what we want? Especially now, if someone walks to you and make that offer, and no one will film it. No, it will only be you and that person who will humiliate you. How much are you willing to take? And how much of a humiliation are you willing to endure to get money? Right? To get that kind of money. It's that really, as I was watching the show, I was thinking that in the back of my mind. But the show did not stop at that place. It went even further. And they basically, these people, they signed up to go into these games. They told them, oh, what you do, you play a children's game. If you win, you will get billions and billions worth of that country's currencies, which is like multi-million dollars. It's a big number by all means. So they go and they discover if you lose. So they started the game with the green-red light game where you have a big doll. She looks back and tells you green. And then if it's a green, you run. And once she turns back and says red, you have to stop. If you move, you typically in the actual game lose. But in this game, you get shot and die on the spot. And it's very graphical, guys, right? And people freaked out, and then they were being shot one after the other. So I think 100 or 200 of the people survived. They continued the game and they finished. And they went back into their dome. And obviously they were freaking out. You killers, you lied to us, we need to go back, etc., etc. So what they've done, as part of the clause of the game, you can vote. And if more than 50% vote to quit the games, they go back to their lives, right? They release them. And the money that's been collected, it gets distributed to the ones who've been killed, who lost in the game, to their families. So they do the voting, and 50% win. So all of these guys and girls, they get released back into their normal lives. And believe it or not, in no time, all of them wanted to go back to compete, even though their life is on the line and they can die in any game. It's one of the... I don't think I've seen a TV show based on that narrative. So I've done some reading, and I looked at some articles, and apparently this show was built on the class struggle that's taking place in South Korea, and also in some of the dialogues it was between a girl who's from the North Korean side and a girl from South Korea. So that's part of the, you could say, the historical conflict between these two who used to be one nation. And also there is that part into it, and there are lots of mini stories within the show that, you know, like the tug-of-war, for example, how the underdog can win if they use the head and stand correctly and play like a team. I think it's definitely an interesting show. The interesting bit is the popularity of the show, and people now actually, media and psychologists and I don't know if government's talked yet, but definitely I saw lots of warnings about banning these games, of people not doing them in real life. Schools shouldn't copy these games and do them. So I wonder if these kind of games will manifest themselves in some way in the real life. But it's interesting that people enjoyed that much of violence in the show. To be honest with you, I found it very gruesome, very bloody. But the show does pull you in, and you will continue watching it to the very end. And I always knew 001 had something behind him. So the 001 character is like an older guy in the show, who's like a kind person, wise person, very friendly. And apparently towards the end, you can you know, like there was an episode where they played with the marbles, where the older guy dies, 001, but they didn't show him getting shot. I knew it was him who was running the show, and that was confirmed in the last episode. So that there was that kind of spin in the show. So apparently now there will be part 2. The winner of the show seems will be going back to play round 2 in these games. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know what's up with his head. But apparently he will go back. And to be honest with you, this guy, the guy who won, his life is ruined. You know, when he won the money, he went back, he went out, his mother died, his childhood friend was the last survivor against him. And he had to end his own life in the game. So basically, this guy, as he left, he had no reason to live, and he never used his money. And for over 1 year, his life continued to be the same. He didn't even use the money. So I really urge you to watch it. But if you don't like blood, you don't like that kind of gruesome violence, it's not the show for you. You're not going to enjoy it, and you will find it disgusting. But if you watch the video, if you watch the show, let me know what you thought of it, and if you think it's something, it would be interesting. It'd be interesting. And if you ever get that kind of offer, would you allow someone to bitch slap you for $10,000, $100,000, $1 million? Do we all have a price? That's my question. See you next time. Take care for now.